Hey everybody, it's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my NFL Playoffs Divisional Round picks. Before we talk about my picks for the Divisional Round games, I just want to get some quick thoughts in from last week's wild card games. Now, obviously, the big story that happened last weekend in the last week's playoff games was the fact that a lot of us are questioning whether or not this is going to be Tom Brady's last game as a Patriot. Because last week, by all accounts, a lot of us were surprised that the New England Patriots lost to the Titans. A lot of us should give some credit to the Titans. Even though Ryan Tannehill didn't play his best game, but all the credit goes to Henry for that running game that the Titans had, and they really did a great job of just of basically wasting time on the clock. They took control of clock management, and obviously the Patriots were out for the first time in a while. They got out coached by one of their own. Mark Rabel was part of that staff for a long time before moving on, and basically he took a page right out of Bill Belichick's playbook. But other than that, Tom Brady's got a lot of questions now in the offseason whether or not he is going to return, either if he's going to stay with the Patriots or if he's going to play with another NFL team going into the offseason. So yeah, do I sense that this will be the end of the Patriots dynasty? I would say yes, but I don't know if I'm going to be certain on that. That is if Tom Brady stays with the Patriots, then I would say no, that doesn't end yet. We won't know until the playoffs are over and the Super Bowl's over, until we see what will happen after that. But other than what's going on, what happened in the wild card games, the other game that you also have to have thoughts on was definitely Minnesota and New Orleans. Obviously, Saints can whine about bad calls again. Yes, I do agree. Yes, there was a controversial offensive pass interference in that overtime when the game went into overtime. But you have to also give credit where credit's due with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. They fought to the bitter end. They played the Saints very, very strong. And do I consider them a threat now going into the rest of the way in the postseason? As long as Minnesota plays like they did and be able to establish a good game plan, I think they could be in for a long haul if they stay the way they are. Their biggest test now comes in the hands of the San Francisco 49ers, which I will get into in a few minutes. So yeah, give credit where credit's due. As far as like the Titans, the Texans and the Bills, good game. Deshaun Watson finally stepped it up a notch in the postseason, and it looked like the Bills had that game in hand, but really, the Texans just came back and fought in the end, and they took them the overtime. And let's just see now if Deshaun Watson can finally take that next step in the divisional round, but they got a tough task at hand as they take on the Chiefs. And not too much on Seattle and Philadelphia. When Carson Wentz went down for Philadelphia, I knew it was pretty much over for the Eagles. The story of the season for the Eagles is that they were just immeasurable amount of injuries they've had all season long, and especially the fact that the NFC East was so weak. You could just tell right away that everybody knew Seattle was going to win that game, and they did. Now, the question remains now for Seattle. Can they go into Lambeau Field and beat Green Bay? And speaking of all that, now let's talk about the divisional round. All right, I'm going to begin with the AFC first. So let's begin with the first AFC divisional game. AFC divisional game, the Tennessee Titans versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are a huge favorite in this game at 9 points. Tannehill in the game against the Patriots last week in the wild card round, he went 8 of 15, 72 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Henry really was the key in that game, and that's why Tannehill's stats were pretty low, but it was enough to beat the Patriots. Now, Lamar Jackson didn't play in Week 17. These are his Week 16 stats. The last time Lamar Jackson played, of course, was in Week 16. He went 20 of 31, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions, which in all hindsight in Week 17, they had nothing to play for because they already clinched home field advantage. So now this comes at a test for Lamar Jackson. This is going to be only his second playoff game. And the way this Baltimore Ravens team is stacked up right now, and there's a reason why they're the number 1 seed. Their offense, they established very well. Their defense is playing at maybe their strongest point all year. The Titans are coming off very strong, and they are full of confidence. A lot of us wondering, can they pull the upset here? If I have to talk about this game, I just think the Ravens are just too much for the Titans here. I like the Ravens in this game. Lamar Jackson, I think they'll get it together and they'll get that offense going. I think, to me, they're just too much for the Titans. I don't see the Titans winning this game here. I think their run ends here. Do I think it'll be a close? Do I say this will be a close game? It could be a close game for maybe the first half, but I think the Ravens will pull away in the second half. I think that the Ravens offense is going to be too much for the Titans to handle, and that's why I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens in this game. And that's my pick here. The Ravens over the Titans. The other AFC divisional game, the Houston Texans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are a 9.5-point favorite in this one. Here's Watson's stats from last week. Deshaun Watson went 20 of 25, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions in that big win against the Bills. Now, Patrick Mahomes did play in Week 17. This is his Week 17 stat. He went 16 of 25, 174 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a big win over the Chargers in that game. This game might be a lot closer than probably Baltimore and Tennessee. Look at it from a standpoint of offense here. Offense-wise, Kansas City might have a slight advantage here, but they're pretty much evenly matched here. Both Watson and Mahomes, they can make plays out of the pocket. They know how to establish what they can do outside the pocket. Defense-wise, they're about evenly matched. So this is probably maybe one tough pick here that I would say here. But the other question comes to mind if Deshaun Watson can really make plays happen. Now, the Texans did beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. But when I think about it here in this rematch, I still like the Chiefs in this game. Their offense and the way they're establishing, and Patrick Mahomes has been here before. They did get to the conference championship last year. Does he know how to win? Yes, he does. I don't know if Deshaun Watson and the Texans can finally make that next step. This is going to be their biggest test. But I really think here Kansas City's offense and the way that experience for Patrick Mahomes, even though it's only his second full season, I like the Chiefs in this game. It'll be a close game. I think it's going to be a close game 4 quarters, but I think the Chiefs will pull away in the end in the 4th quarter. I like the Chiefs in this game. I think the Chiefs will get back to the AFC Championship here, and it's going to be another tough road for the Texans to really establish themselves as an elite team going forward here. But I like the Chiefs in this game. I think the Chiefs win here. Chiefs over the Houston Texans. All right, going now into the NFC. The NFC divisional game, it is the Minnesota Vikings versus the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are a 7-point favorite in this game. I don't know if 7 points is right. The way Minnesota played against the Saints, who's to say Minnesota will give the 49ers a difficult time? Now, Kirk Cousins last week in that big win over the Saints, 19 of 31, 242 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interception. Garoppolo did play in Week 17 in that big game against Seattle to clinch not only the NFC West, but also the number 1 seed. He went 18 of 22, 285 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. This is going to... The question comes in mind now for the 49ers. With that 1 week off, is this team fully prepared now? Because the Vikings, they need to take very seriously. Just look what they did to the Saints last week. You don't think that Kirk Cousins finally, and full of confidence that he has right now, can go into Santa Clara and pull the upset against the 49ers? Offense-wise, they're both, I would say the 49ers and the Vikings are actually evenly matched. Defense-wise, they're evenly matched too. But I think the 49ers, I should rephrase that. I think the 49ers defense is just a tad better than the Vikings defense, and the 49ers have the key on defense here. I think the keys here, I think which team controls the clock, they don't turn the ball over. That's going to be the major key here. Who do I think wins this game? I like the 49ers in this game. I think the 49ers will win this game here. Excuse me for my stuttering here. I think that offense-wise, if they click and they get together here, I think to me they will give Minnesota's defense a hard time here, especially their main weapon, Kettle. This guy's a beast. They got to be willing to stop this guy. He's been pretty much unstoppable this whole season, other than the injury he had during the regular season. That's going to be one of the keys for the 49ers here. Same thing with Minnesota with Diggs and Cook. That running game is pretty strong for Minnesota. This is a tough pick here. This is really, really a tough pick. But I'm going to pick the 49ers here. I think they win this game here. It's going to be a close game. But I'm picking the 49ers here. I think the 49ers will get to the conference championship here. 49ers over the Vikings. The other NFC divisional game, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Green Bay Packers. Packers are a 4-point favorite in this one here, and it wouldn't be surprised if that number gets lower before kickoff. Wilson last week against the Eagles, 18 of 30, 325 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Rodgers, last game, he did play in Week 17. He went 27 of 55, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. This comes to mind now for the Green Bay Packers here. I mean, down the stretch, they didn't play all that well. Their defense really struggled. Even though their big win was against the Vikings here, but in Week 17, they did struggle against the Lions. And now this comes to mind here, what do the so-called Packers' great defense that Aaron Rodgers loves to praise, are they really that vulnerable? The way Seattle is playing right now and the way they had been down the stretch, I know they didn't play all that strong towards the end, and they did struggle against the Eagles. But with adding back Marshawn Lynch, that helps their running game a lot. And especially Metcalf is a weapon in wide receiver. Green Bay right now, they only have just one good wide receiver that they have, and their running game isn't all that strong. So this comes to mind here why I'm actually going to go on the upset here. I'm actually going to pick the Seattle Seahawks here. Russell Wilson has the experience. He went to 2 Super Bowls in the last decade. Rodgers here, there's a lot of questions right now. Rodgers doesn't have that many weapons on offense. So that is why I'm picking the Seahawks here. Even though the weather is going to be cold. The forecast said it's supposed to be cold in Seattle, but I don't think it's going to matter because the way Seattle's playing right now, I like the Seahawks in this game. I can see them pulling the upset here. I think to me the Green Bay's defense does have some vulnerabilities. They have trouble stopping the run. And if the Seattle Seahawks get that running game going, it could open up the passing game and really open that field for Metcalf to really establish some playmaking plays. I like the Seahawks in this game. I think the Seahawks are going to win here. I think they're going to pull the upset here. I think it's going to be another disappointment for Aaron Rodgers and that Green Bay Packers here. But expect this game to be close, but I'm going with the Seahawks here. I think the Seahawks win this game here. I think they'll go on the Lambeau Field and pull the upset. I'm going to pick the Seahawks over the Packers. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for the divisional round. Of course, stay tuned next week for my picks for the AFC and NFC Championship game. Until then, everybody, take care and enjoy this football weekend.